This video is about the Virginia Adult ESOL Content Standards class checklists. We have content standards checklists for all 4 language skills. The checklists are handy because they allow you to document student progress throughout the term. They provide the content standards in an abbreviated format that fits on one page. We'll see an example of it in just a moment. The checklists are particularly helpful for speaking and listening. We do not have a concrete way of keeping track of student progress in these skills since they are so spontaneous or in the moment. We have no evidence to look back at the end of the term when we're trying to make our end-of-term assessments to promote or retain a student. So without these checklists, all we have is our memory and professional knowledge, which is wonderful and valid, but it's in our heads. So using these checklists provides evidence to substantiate our assessments of the student. Just as the CASAS test and writing samples that you might keep are evidence of reading and writing improvement, keeping track of students' progress on these checklists are evidence of oral progress as well. So we do have reading checklists, but for reading we have a standardized test that help us determine whether or not a student has made sufficient progress in their reading and is performing at the next proficiency level. However, the checklists are still helpful in identifying what reading skills should be taught at a particular level and what students should be able to do to move to the next level, so that would help you in your instructional planning. For writing, you can collect writing samples throughout the term and use the checklist to keep a record of the benchmarks and indicators that the students achieve or need more practice in. Okay, so let's take a look at a checklist. So this is an example of a low-intermediate speaking standard checklist. The checklist provides the content standards in an abbreviated format that fits on one page. So here are all the benchmarks and indicators. You'll notice here there are no examples or activities because this is more for assessment, not for planning. So you can keep track of student progress here. There's places for names up here at the top. If you copy this double-sided, it will give you space for up to 30 students. So you may not use this every day, but if you've used the content standards in your planning and have an activity that speaks to one of the benchmarks or indicators, you can use this to document how the students did during the activity. You would make your notations in these boxes. So basically, as you would normally walk around and listen to the students and informally assess them, here you would hold this checklist and make notations, maybe a check, meaning that they got it, a minus, meaning that they need more practice, but you can make notations as to students' performance and whether or not they've met the benchmark or the indicator. So let's take a look at what that would look like. So this is an example of a checklist that's beginning to be filled out. Let's pretend that I did a mix and mingle activity in which I asked my students to talk about what they did over the weekend. So as they were talking, I used this checklist to make notations on how the students were performing. You'll notice here I was evaluating them on indicator A. So these are some of the notations. You'll notice the checks, the pluses, the minuses, check pluses. You can use whatever style of notation you want, but overall this gives you a place to document students' speaking progress during class time, and if you continue to do it, it will keep track for you over the whole term. So when it's time for you to make your final decisions as to whether to promote or retain a student, you can look back at the checklist to help you do this. Now, this may not be the only activity that I will do in the class that speaks to benchmark 4.1a. So if I have a student, like here I have Rodrigo, who didn't do so well initiating the conversation, the next time that I do an activity that might speak to this indicator, I can go back and evaluate him again. The other ones that got a plus or a check, I may not look at them as much just the ones with the check minuses or the minuses to see if they actually have maybe later in the term achieved that indicator or benchmark. Okay, so this video provided a brief introduction or overview to the Content Standards checklists. Again, they're available for all 4 language skills. We saw an example of the speaking standard and then how to fill it out. I also want to remind you that they are available on the wiki, the Adult ESOL wiki. And if you have any questions, you can ask your lead teacher or you can contact me, Jennifer Fadden, at any time. Thank you for listening.